It's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you are at work, in the car, or wherever you are, we hope you enjoy this show about the great sport of geocaching. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can be part of the adventure tonight in the chat room and participate with others as they watch the show. If you are listening later, please give it a like and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app so that you can get all of the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. If you have not become a patron of the Geocache Talk Network, what are you waiting for? Patron levels start as low as a Bison Tube level at $3 a month. To sign up is easy. Simply go to the Geocache Talk website and click on the Become a Patron button, or go to patreon.com/Geocache Talk. Patrons now get the famous Blackout coin, invites to special events, and other really great items throughout the year. Become a patron today. Have you subscribed to FTF Magazine yet? FTF Magazine is the #1 geocaching magazine available. It is a quarterly magazine that you can be part of. Submit your geocaching milestones and adventures to be published. FTF Magazine is also interactive with puzzles to solve and the hunt to find Spartacus. If you can solve the puzzle or find Spartacus, then you will be entered in to win a special pack tag. Every new subscription, you will receive a special swag pack. Subscribing is easy. Just visit FTF's website, ftfgeo.com. Don't miss out and subscribe today.
Big thanks to Derek, Baker 6 Clan, and our featured patrons, Runner Casher, which I saw him last year at Going Caching. How about that? That just happened. It wasn't planned. DeTruck, Jay Schulz, Little Miss Sunshine, Whiskey, AWOL, Sackishness, The Fours Awakens, Huey 250, and our new patrons, Alibaba 40 Thieves, Geocacher Ken, Meg the Pirate, and Great Slater. Well, let's jump right into show 489, as we're going to talk in a little bit about geocaching safety. But before we do that, we're going to do an announcement. This is a big announcement. That's the big one too, Andy and Jim. This is not our normal news. This is the breaking news.
I love the drama of that. Yeah,
yeah, isn't that great?
Feels like so much drama.
Versus the other one. Play the other one too.
Yeah, that's very cool. It's like this news just in. You know.
Right. The good one is breaking news, and we have breaking news tonight. So very excited. So without further ado, I'm going to turn over to the Waysiders. You got a lot of fans out here too, you two. So we got a lot of
Bloody Cool.
Yeah, Bloody Cools. Loving you, as we all do. So
what do you want to talk about?
What would y'all like to talk about tonight?
Yeah.
Do you want us just to jump in and be like, ta-da, this is what we're doing this year?
Andy, you
or
can
yes.
do this any way you want. If you want to
I'll
beat
tell you
around
when,
the bush a little while,
yeah.
you can. Or go ahead. Jim.
When is October 1st, Saturday?
The
That's the
first
the mega.
Saturday.
Right.
And of course, the week before, we'll be
You
doing.
can't get
lots of
any
stuff.
earlier in
That's right.
October
Right.
than October 1st. So
October 1st. Okay, that's good to know.
and
Same place, right?
Yes. Yep.
Same place. Okay, that's good to know.
So Going Caching 2022 is going to be Ancient Egypt,
Ooh.
the reign of Geopatra.
There it is,
See,
folks.
that's the reaction, Emily. Yeah,
Amazing.
right there.
There it is. I love the logo. Is awesome.
It is awesome.
The reign of
Look at those
Geopatra. I love it.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh my
the
gosh.
Egyptians, there's just so much there. They were
Yeah.
so artistic and creative, and the colors, and even all the things that they knew, the science and architecture and
This is definitely the earliest we've ever dived into the puzzles and things. We're just all kinds of ideas,
Yeah.
celestial stuff and
Oh yeah.
hieroglyphics and you name it. yeah, we're excited. So
The
it's gonna be
crew's
fun.
super
Yeah.
excited. So
Awesome. This is
Yeah.
great. And
Mhm.
yes,
So-
so I didn't know before tonight, and the crew before the show is talking about all the angles this can go. And yes, all of that's what I'm thinking immediately.
mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
you
Well-
guys are going to bring in so many details, and then everyone who attends is going to have so many ideas.
Right. And
Great.
you're right. It can go a lot of different ways. You can come as an archaeologist, or you can be the Queen of the Nile if you want to. You know, just any way. In fact,
Be a giant cat.
in 100 years ago, well, yeah, this is the 100th or yeah, 100 years ago, is when they discovered King Tutankhamun,
Oh,
King
yeah.
Tut's tomb. So
What was it,
so-
1922?
right.
Awesome.
So we're it was actually in November. They searched for years and finally found it. But so we're almost we're 1 month short, I guess, of
Mhm.
hitting the anniversary. But
So, and
Indiana
if you,
Jones.
and in classic going caching style, we have a crazy story. We've,
Love it.
Geopatra, of course, will be our
I just
main
love that.
character. And
Cleopatra.
her
Looks like
ally, Egyptian ally, is King Tot, T-O-T-T. And he is a master of all the tools of the trade. So imagine a like cobra headlamp.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
Oh,
we're gonna
gosh.
have a lot
Oh
of
my
fun with
gosh.
that.
And I think it needs to be said for anyone who doesn't know, you guys put that theme in the largest detail down to the smallest. It is everywhere. And that's what makes this event so special, or one of the things. So you're going to
well,
do
thank
this
you. That's
well
great to
Appreciate
hear.
because
that.
you
High
always
praise.
do it well. Yes.
So, and the escape rooms will be the search for her lost tomb.
Oh.
So you'll
that'll start. The trading card puzzle. You run around and get your
Oh,
card
yeah.
stamp and stuff, and then come back and go through our Egyptian palace and tomb. Right?
Yeah, antechamber, a catacomb,
Nice.
and burial
Oh.
chamber.
Yeah. Somebody said they
So-
were going to come as a mummy. I think those chronically.
I meant to. Yes.
And
yes,
then I always
yeah.
like
Lots of mummies.
every time you say mummy, I'm always the Doctor Who. Are you my mummy?
Oh, yeah.
Are you my mummy?
Are you my
my
mummy?
Well, even
Yeah.
several times on TV this past week, I've heard the aliens angle. The aliens built the pyramids.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You
I
could
guess I
come
like
as an
to go with
alien
the
then, right?
alien.
Yeah.
But the overall story is it's modern day 1922, and we have a pair of archaeologists who are searching for the tomb.
Cool.
So I guess as cachers come, they get to search as well. That theme will be integrated into the challenge, into the
Right.
escape rooms.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
And so, we actually are
Oh.
running like two timelines at the same time. We've got, like Andy was just saying, the 1922 version of the Explorers,
Right,
which geocachers can certainly relate to. And we've also got then the ongoing saga of Geopatra and Tot, and the
King Tot.
the ship.
That's right.
Sorry.
Well,
No, I'm
somebody-
kidding. Yeah.
there was a
Yeah,
question.
you will hear that song.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, if you have any questions, by the way, for the put them in the chat room, and we will mention them. So, Tom mentions, he goes, "Are we going to have a parade or dance to walk?"
Yep, that's
nailed it.
exactly the flash
Totally.
mob will be walk like an Egyptian parade.
Very good, Tom.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, that's great.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because last
And,
year's was a lot
We'll
of
be
fun. That
walking
was
like
great.
Egyptians on Broad Street. Yeah.
That's right.
absolutely.
Yes.
And
That's
for the Saturday night gala, we've already secured the same location as last year.
Oh,
Oh,
that was
okay.
a wonderful
Because it was a
location.
great one. I
Yeah.
know it's like that
Yeah.
very next week I made the phone calls and I'm like, y'all put us on the calendar. We want to do that again.
Great.
And we
Great.
love the forum, the original
Mhm.
place, the big
Yeah.
auditorium kind of thing, or the
Right.
arena. That worked great. And when we were not able to get that COVID issues and stuff, we were
Right.
really disappointed. Like, what are we going to do? And then it evolved into the
The Vogue.
Vogue.
The
We had
Vogue.
the indoor venue, and then they blocked the street for us and the tent.
Right.
So it just worked great. And
It did. It
we're planning on
felt,
continuing
yeah,
that.
everyone was around but had
Right.
space. And
Mhm.
yeah, the indoor outdoor aspect,
Yeah.
it was wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you had that extra spot. And it's right there. So I mean,
Mhm.
you know, a lot of people kind of get used to, at least people that are not from the area, that maybe it's their first time or whatever. It really is kind of a centralized, because there's so much along that
Mhm.
part of Rome.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah, that's
'cause
the heart of the nightlife. Yeah, in Rome.
Yeah, because the puzzles, some of the puzzles from last year, or some of the, um, when we were doing the, it wasn't the, was it the stickers? What were the ones we were doing?
This
Emily,
card stamping challenge.
yeah, remember, because we walked when you went to the jeweler. What was the when we went to the
Yeah.
jeweler?
We were
Yeah, that was the
stamping
trading
our
card
cards.
challenge.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, right,
That's
stamp
right.
card, but you're right in that area, so you got
Correct.
used
Mhm.
to being
Yeah.
in that area. So.
Yeah, you visited. Yeah, you spent a lot of time up and down the Broad Street. Yeah.
Yeah. So some questions coming in. And I know we talked briefly about this before. I don't know if y'all want to talk about this yet, but they're going to ask about the puzzle box. A lot of people are asking about that.
Yeah, there won't be a puzzle box this year. We are doing the shirt, and it may have some things that come with it.
Okay,
The
cool.
box last year, that was a large project, and it was really kind of tied in as a where we were wondering if we were going to be able
Right.
to have the event.
Right.
So it was kind of like
Right.
a home version.
Yeah, when things were
Thing.
very doubtful when we first started that box. So
It's
we,
true.
you
There
know,
was some,
we may not even
Yeah,
have
HQ
this.
had canceled the August
Right.
stuff. Woodstock had
Several, right.
canceled,
Mhm.
and yeah.
But
yeah, it was a little
but
touch and go there.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that was so much fun, but that was almost like putting on a mega event by itself. You know, that was rough. We might bring that back sometime, but not this year.
Not this year.
It's
Okay.
Definitely have the puzzle T-shirt, and as Andy mentioned, there could be a few things that go
We've
along
talked
with
about
it.
some fun stuff that
Sure.
could come with
Right.
the shirt.
Yeah.
So
Right.
But not the detail of that. That thing. So
We're a long
sorry.
way out, but people want to know when they can buy. Is it going to be like July? I think is what we usually did last year. We talked about having
I
y'all
think
back.
we're gonna
What-
get it out a little earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, back on the box, that helped. That had to be all completed and ready to go. But with just the shirt and a map or something, it'll
Sure.
it won't take that long.
Then there'll be y'all are going to do like pre-event type coinages of any type, or
We haven't done a pre-event coin before. But boy, this is putting it out there. We haven't decided on this at all, but
Okay.
it was one of the options we can, if we wanted to have some type of device, we could do a coin with the T-shirt.
sure.
But that's that's not ready for
Nothing
prime
decided.
time at all.
Right.
That's okay. I was just thinking because I know now being involved in a couple of them now for myself is that it's nice just to get some of the cash flowing, is to
Mhm.
provide people with something ahead of time that kind of helps you guys. But I mean, y'all are well established, been doing this for a while. In fact, how many years testing your
This will be our
trivia
12th
knowledge?
mega this year.
12? Is
Yep.
it? Huh.
12 this
Yeah,
year. Wow.
and we skipped one.
Right.
We missed. Okay, wow. Yeah,
Wow.
2010 was the first year.
That's what
Right.
it says on our profile.
Okay.
The-
Well, then there you go. I'm sure someone
prior to this year, we had
someone
11
fact
megas.
checked that. I'm
so,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Let the
No,
fact
that's
checkers
awesome.
at it. Yeah. But
They're
yeah,
great,
it
aren't
started the first. It wasn't a mega, but
Right.
the
Right.
first event
first
was,
one.
for us, going coastal was
Yeah.
2010. So
And
holy
then
cow.
it's been in Rome now for it used to roam around, not be
Yeah.
in Rome.
Yeah, it was 2014 was our first year in
Right.
Rome, and we did leave one year, 2016, and went down to FDR State Park in Pine Mountain, Georgia,
Okay.
and panicked the whole time, realizing we had probably outgrown that park.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part.
So, yeah. It's like, what
Yeah.
are we gonna do?
But
So,
yeah, this circus is too big now. It's not moving. Yeah. So.
Well, it's a perfect spot. I mean, I've been a couple times in last couple, and it's been tremendous. And I like the spot. Like, I know you guys love it too, but
And your community is so welcoming.
Mhm.
I look forward to visiting Rome, not just going caching, but Rome, Georgia.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
Emily
Yeah.
and Mom you've been to a couple now together,
We've
right?
been to 3 now. Mhm.
3 of
Oh,
them.
wow. Okay.
And what are your thoughts, Emily? What are you, while I'm gathering some questions? What are your
It's mega event excellence. Like I said, the theme is just amazing. You get so wrapped up into it. You're with your geocaching community. You're having this unique fun with your people, whether you know them or you meet them that week. And, some folks you're meeting, they're your going caching friends, And so going caching is just a one of a kind, in my opinion, best in the States mega event that I wish everybody would experience at least once. And I bet you if you experience it once, you're gonna want more.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
incredible.
Awesome.
Well,
Thanks.
well, you guys, it's so exciting. I'm so glad that we were able to be a part of the announcement.
Thank you.
You know me and the group.
thank
is that
you.
Well, I love
we
that
love it.
you wanted to give us that opportunity.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, yeah, this is great.
I've
Gave
been-
us a chance to build a little suspense and
Absolutely.
thing, which was fun.
Yeah. So just to let people know, pull the curtain back a little bit. I've been bugging Andy for quite a while ago. Andy, can we make the announcement? She's like, yes, but we're not ready yet. I'm like, oh, come on, let us do the announcement. She's like,
Yeah.
yes.
And cache page will be up shortly.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
yeah. Good
Yeah,
idea.
we can
Yeah.
give you if anybody is interested, it's obviously not published yet, but it's GC 9H8XG.
And that was also on the artwork.
Oh, there you go.
There it is.
Yeah.
No, that's good though. It's good to mention it because we have audio listeners too, Jim. So that's perfect.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for mentioning that. Yeah. GC9H8XG. October 1st.
Just seeing that logo again.
I'm so excited.
That's great. Yeah.
Well, good. Well, we look forward to catching up with you guys. Hopefully we'll do, if we can, let's try to have you all on again around the time when we want to make sure people are purchasing swag and all that. So
Okay.
I'll get back with you guys. We'll work out having you on and do a full show on the upcoming.
Yeah, and we'll have a lot more details then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. But that works out great for
Okay.
us and for y'all too, to be able to tell everybody more at a time whenever you guys want to do it. So we'll work that out
Yeah.
in the
And we'll
future.
see you at Worldwide Cache Fest.
That's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw
Can't
that.
wait.
Yeah, we're excited about it,
That's going to
so.
be fun.
Yes. Got some puzzles there for you, Jim. You'll be
Yeah,
excited.
I know. I can't wait.
got a whole
got to get,
grouping of puzzles to give you guys. So not exactly like going caching, so it's gonna be a little different for you, but I think you'll enjoy it. I think everybody will enjoy the Puzzle
Right.
Academy. Things to do beforehand. And
Very
Emily's
fun.
working on Challenge Academy, which is
Yeah.
another
very
cool.
Okay.
Yeah, lots of fun
we love
stuff.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact,
Yeah.
Georgia has a new little puzzle group called the Georgia Geocaching
Yes.
Puzzle Society.
Oh,
And we're
that's
super
great.
excited about that because they're really getting a lot of people interested in doing puzzle caches and taking away that intimidation a lot of people have.
Good.
So
Mhm.
that's really good for us and good for the geocaching community because we love puzzle caches. So.
Oh yeah. Ann Poe was telling me about, she's really excited about her group that she created. And that's a big
Jim is
part
going to
of-
be
part of it.
doing the March event.
That's right. Yeah. I'll be showing what I don't know, letting everybody, ask me questions. And I go, oh crap, I can make this up, but I don't know how to solve it.
And then
No, it'll be fun. Yeah. And again, we can't wait to get to Memphis. That is just, we're so excited. Yeah.
well, we appreciate that, and we appreciate you guys. And wow, this is gonna be awesome. The wheels are spinning, I know, in a lot of people's heads, is whoa, what can I wear?
The
What
chat
can I
is
get?
very excited.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're it's like,
Oh, I
whoa,
can't
so
wait
they're-
to see what people come up with. Yeah.
Well,
I
the
already have
entire-
my
Fun.
ideas. I'm gonna have to talk myself out of it if I think of a different idea, but I
Different
think
idea.
I know. I think I
You
know.
can have more than one because
True.
some people
Different
come with
event
two
nights.
different
Yep.
different event nights. You come with
Yeah.
different outfits and stuff. So again, thank you guys so much. We'll talk soon.
Well,
All
thank
right.
you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
it.
Good night.
Bet.
Bye,
night,
everybody.
y'all.
See you.
Bye. Take care. All right, we're gonna bring in the other crew. So we'll work on getting the rest of the group over. So I'll do that now. Tom,
Hey, Tom. Hey, Jesse.
how are y'all?
Oh,
Man,
good.
that's pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah. Are you coming, Tom?
I'd like to. And, that must have-
Oh,
hit
we lost-
hit the
lost-
hit the easy button. What would I go as? This is so simple.
The mummy.
Mummy,
No,
you're big.
It have to be the cat.
The cat, of course, because you have cats. So works out
No,
perfect.
no. What kind of cat would I be?
A water cat. Let's see.
A water cat.
Electric cat.
A tomcat.
Oh my gosh. There it was the whole time.
Dang it.
Oh man.
My brain should be working and it's not. I should have known that. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right.
And you made that one way harder than it had to be.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, I like that. A Persian.
Ooh, in the chat, a Persian.
Persian.
Oh no,
It's
definitely not Siamese. One of me is enough.
Siamese. And then Tomcat, yeah. All right. Well, let's get started. I kind of want to do this a couple different ways. First, I want to start with some of the news that Tom, you found. I want to start with some of those. I don't want to go through every one of them because that we don't need that. But I want to hit a couple of them and get y'all's thoughts on it, and then we'll get into some of the safety items that I think we all want to talk about tonight. So let's do that. So of these ones, Tom, which one? I want to talk about the trail markers here in a minute because I'm kind of fascinated by whether this is going to be of much use or not. I'm still wondering, but is there a particular one of these that you want to cover? There's one up
Well,
Emily's way. It was
the last one on the list is what spurred me to have this thing.
the one in Lockhart.
The one in Lockhart.
Okay,
The
we can
the
start with that one if you want. That was the most recent. I threw in one also that the person that died out falling off a cliff in Barton Creek on the Greenbelt in Austin. But
yeah, that wasn't geocaching related, but it's close enough because one of them on here is geocaching related, and the guy fell off a cliff and died.
So talk to people first about the one that very sad. This one is about Scooterino. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell people a little bit about what, and we know him. So
Scooterino is one of these people that's just go. The guy is, I don't want to say he's old, but he's not buying green bananas anymore.
right. Whatever that means.
Yeah. Well, you'll get that later and slap your head. He's north of 80.
Right.
But he's go. It's like he had hip replacement surgery, and 2 days later he's up climbing a tree.
Oh gosh. He's like Jesse.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Sound like Jesse.
So the accident he had, he's probably, I don't know, 45 miles from home. Small town, but he was, fortunately where he had it, he was in town. He was at a car wash.
Okay.
Had a ladder at a tree. And he's by himself.
Okay.
Mistake one, he's by himself. I mean,
Yeah.
there comes a. I
And he's
catch by
80.
I
I
catch by
mean, no
myself
spring
a lot.
chicken.
Yeah, I catch by myself a lot. In fact, this past Tuesday, I went out, took the day off, and catch by myself. But I limit what I do when I'm by myself. I'm not going to climb stuff. I don't know that he was checking in. He probably did tell his wife, "Hey, I'm going to Lockhart or whatever." But all that anybody knows is the people at the car wash, some people washing their car there, saw him get the ladder out of the truck, put it up against a tree, started washing their car. When they came around the corner again, he's on the ground with and the ladder laying there and a branch on the ground.
Ooh.
Back broken in 2 places, numerous broken ribs and head injury. And you know, last I heard, he's in rehab, and you know, he's able to. They can have him stand, but they weren't having him stand because it's just too painful.
Right.
But he's going to have a long road ahead of him.
Right. And he doesn't remember any of it, if that's what I remember.
Doesn't remember what happened.
He doesn't remember any of it, which is kind of sad in a different way. I mean, he can't really give a lot of information because he doesn't remember any of this. You know, his head injury was that much. So now I was going to tell you, Jesse, I know you're out for a moment, but what we're going to do is we're not going to go through all of the ones. They're in the show notes. We want to let people know there's several of them in there. We're going to kind of highlight a couple, and then we're going to get into more of the safety things. I don't want to really get into a lot of, you know, the detail. I mean, we know people get hurt, but we want to cover a few of them because we want people to understand. So just FYI.
Sounds good.
That sounds good. And somebody asked me the other day about, was this a response to the video that came out? And I want to take a couple seconds to mention this is not in response to that at all. This is a concern that Tom had, and Tom brought it to me, and I thought this was a good thing to discuss. The video is out there. I don't recommend watching it. It's really not very good. It's not very informative. It's some person who's trying to be very dark and menacing, and let's talk about the dangers of geocaching. And it was real foreboding and dark. And then by the end of it, he's like praising geocaching. It's a really weird video. I know people are going to go try to find it now because I mentioned it, but it's like, don't look right here. Don't look at my hand, and everybody's gonna be looking at my hand. So, but anyway, you can go watch it. It's just not very good. So that's not our response to this. So
hadn't heard of it until you mentioned it, but then after you described
me either.
it,
yeah, it's not worth watching. It's not very good. And we really don't. I was going to go back a step and mention about news. There's notes in the show notes. There's notes in the show. There's news in the show notes. Go back and check them out. The one thing I do want to mention before we go further is the patron book club is tomorrow night. Is that correct?
Yep. Tomorrow night. It's we're going over the Lincoln Highway book.
Okay, cool.
If you have not read it yet, you don't have time. It's 652 pages. So,
but you can join.
If you still want to join, you can still join. We always end up talking about geocaching. So
I looked up that book on the Oregon Digital Library, and the wait list was so incredibly long. Like over 100 people want to read this book. Yeah,
it's actually a good book. And for anybody that's not going to join or hadn't read it, it's not. The Lincoln Highway, obviously, you know why we picked it, because the Lincoln Highway, the Lab Cache Trail.
Exactly.
Not related at all. The story has nothing to do with that.
Nothing to do with that.
Just fair warning before you read 652 pages. Nothing to do with that at all. But it is good if you want to go read it. But just don't think it's geocaching related, because it is not.
Right.
So.
Right.
And I read that whole thing. There wasn't one cache in the whole thing.
I know, it's crazy. It was on page 653, but I didn't get that part of the book, so it's okay.
Lori says that she's good book so far. She's almost done listening to it. And Lori, you and I are the same. I listen to a lot of books. So
hey, I love audiobooks. Don't get me wrong.
I love audiobooks.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm working on Adam Savage's book. Highly recommend. Every I get this wrong. Every Tool is a Hammer is a great book, by the way. So That's one you could do too. I'd even join in on that book club one. So,
Mhm.
all right. And then the other item, and we'll go back in the thing, is that limited time on a couple things. One is the host hotel. That's limited. It'll get sold out. And the other one that's limited is the escape room challenge at Cache Fest. These are both Cache Fest related. The Cache Fest escape room challenge, we're at about 83 and we can go to 150. So it kind of jumped up. It kind of goes in spurts where a bunch of people sign up at the moment, and then won't be for a while, and then a bunch of people sign up. So if you're interested in doing that, don't wait too long, because again, we only have 150 slots for that. So
Yeah. And
all
it's
right.
a regular event that you can go to,
Yeah,
that you don't have to
absolutely.
do the escape room.
Don't have to.
And you don't have to sign up for the, in that way
Yeah.
for the event.
Absolutely.
But if you want in on that special feature of the event.
Correct. Very good. Correct, Emily. Very good. So let me let's talk for a moment. And that's safety. I'll do the safety one in a moment. The one that Jesse and I and Tom were at, if we're going back in time a little bit, is the year was last year in Cisco. There was an older lady who fell. Well, I'm sorry, somebody fell on her.
Yeah.
So, she was helping somebody with there at the somebody climbing a ladder.
Believe she was holding the ladder.
Yeah.
Steady.
So she's holding the ladder, and so she unfortunately got fallen upon, and I think Charles took her to the hospital, if I recall. But again, I mean, it's an accident, but and we'll talk later about maybe some possible things that could be done to help with that, avoiding, being far as geocaching safety. So
without being completely depressing the whole show, I swear it won't be this sad.
That's
the
okay.
whole time.
No, we're going to talk about good things here in a minute.
Okay.
And then are any of these others you want to cover specifically, Tom?
Well, the first one
into?
that you were talking about with the trail markers, that's telling you that was so old that was before they had trail markers on this thing. But that's where young guys climbing a cliff,
Okay, yeah.
or up an incline kind of cliff kind of thing, and the rocks he was grabbing hold of gave way, and he fell, and a 30-pound boulder came with him and landed on his chest. And he could still talk enough to call 911. And
Oh.
there was a time I searched for it again. I couldn't find it. The 911 call used to be on the internet, but it's pretty painful to listen to. But he had coordinates. He knew where he was, but they didn't understand the coordinates. And now that I run this through my head, we had that happen at Texas Challenge with David Vickery one year. He was at Enchanted Rock and had heart problems there, and we had coordinates, but Parks and Wildlife at the time had no clue what a GPS was. Oh, and this one here, I know this guy.
Somebody they wrote up a interesting little article about the poor guy. Shattered both feet, right? Is that right?
This was painful to read because I knew what was coming. And it's only a page long, and I had to stop 2 or 3 times because it's just, he's climbing up like a landscape wall, retaining wall kind of thing. Gosh, this is probably 10 years ago. He's probably
2008.
Yeah, he's and he's Marine. I know they say there's no such thing as an ex-Marine.
We know what he means.
He wasn't serving anymore.
Not serving at the moment, right?
He wasn't active. He's climbing the wall. Finally decides, no, I'm not going to make it. He's on his way down.
Right.
And he lets go with one hand to move, and then the part of the wall in his left hand gave way, and down he goes. And he said his training kicked in. He knew how to land, but the people who build a sidewalk didn't know how to build a sidewalk, and so it messed things up. And I'm not going to get into the details of his
Sad.
messed up feet, but it's pretty nasty. Don't read the story after you ate.
Yes.
The point is not the details of his injury, but that you can get injured out there quite easily, independent of your level of physical fitness.
Right.
Yeah. So let's switch gears at this point, and let's kind of talk about things that we can all do to make geocaching safe. So
yeah, I want to point out, we're not telling you not go, do any kind of cache or nothing. I mean, there's ones I avoid. You're not going to catch me 50 feet up in a tree, because that's just, I don't do those. I don't bounce anymore. I thud. So no. And there's a list of other kind of caches that are not even safety related. I just don't do. But we're not here to bash caches. We're here to tell you how to lessen your risk.
Well, speaking of that,
there's risk going out your front door. I mean,
absolutely.
I would say is, and you should be as risky as you feel comfortable with.
Right. I was going to say,
every single person.
Let's start there. So you mentioned tree climb. Let's talk about the ways to do tree climbing safely. And Jesse, you're probably the more of the. I don't know, Emily. You'll climb a tree.
I just climbed my first tree for a cache a few weeks ago, probably for the first time in, I don't know, 8 years.
Oh, okay.
No, 8 years.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
More recent.
Yeah. And that means I'm that much older, and it was hard. I actually got a headache, an instant headache from the exertion of getting in that first high limb and all kinds of stuff. And this was me going back because I didn't even have the tools to get in the tree the first time I scoped it out, So, and I was with somebody both times. There was no way I would have done that on my own.
Right.
Yeah.
So
tree climbs
Jesse,
can be tricky because they don't look dangerous because they're right in the city, but you don't have to fall very far to hurt yourself. 10, 12 feet, it hurts a lot if you fall from that height.
Yeah.
No, my brother broke his arm falling 4 feet. Anything can go wrong.
Oh yeah.
So what are some things we need to keep in mind, Jesse, if we're going to do that?
So one thing is, if you can't climb a tree, go to another cache. If you know it's just not a good thing for you, go to another one. Or like I did, have a gymnast daughter that you paid thousands and thousands of dollars for all that training, and just send her up in the tree.
Let's send her up the tree.
No, and a lot of people use ladders, but if you're not using a ladder properly, you can get just as hurt.
Oh yeah, I took a step stool to that tree. It was practically useless because it's not, made to it's made to sit on a flat concrete surface,
Right.
And this, this tree had the slope up to the trunk, that ladder was almost a danger in and of itself.
Yeah.
The one I took.
Use a ladder safely on a tree. I can tell you how it's not safe. I have a buddy of mine. Now I have limitations when it comes. I can climb pretty well, but not as well as I could in the past when I had all my original parts. And I have a buddy that he's bigger than me, and he will climb. He'll put a ladder on the tree. First of all, before I say this, nobody else do this. So he'll put a ladder up against a tree. He brings one of those extendable ladders, right?
Right.
So up against a tree, he'll climb up it, and then he'll stand on a branch and pull the ladder up and put it up on another branch and climb up.
Oh my
God!
It's the most scary thing I've ever seen. I don't know why he does it. He's not like 100-pound, kid. He's a grown man, and it's pretty insane. But he doesn't feel uncomfortable doing it at all, and he'll going up in the tree, and I'm like, that is completely insane. I get a little wheezy when I get up there like that. Like,
really.
As long as I can hold on to something tight, I feel okay. But when you start doing those weird out on the branch things,
if you're going to do those a lot, invest in a bucket truck.
Yes.
Bucket truck. I know one thing I saw, because I watched you climb some trees in Memphis, and that's you're really careful to not get on a limb unless you know the limb is going to handle you. So you'll grab a limb and you'll sort of pull on it a little bit because you want to know whether that limb is going to be worthy. instead of trying to get up to it and then going, well, I hope this thing will hold me.
Right. Like trees aren't generally like, they're not grown to hold 200 plus pound people in them.
Yeah,
Nothing
exactly.
they have is that big, right? So you really have to be careful because we all get our eye on the prize, especially you get up there and then you're like, oh, I see it. It's only like
see it.
3
It's
more
just,
branches up.
yeah, exactly.
And you're doing that, and it just, yeah. And actually, I think now people would tell me I'm wrong, but I think coming down is more dangerous than going up. Going up seems to be you're really concentrating. Coming down, you're done. You're coming down, and I've seen more close calls from that than anything.
Right.
I totally agree with you.
And Bloody Cool mentions about keep your weight as close to the trunk.
Mhm.
Yeah, because the branches nearest to the trunk are the best. Casher Nick mentions about he climbed about 5 trees a day. Always try to keep 3 points of contact to the tree at all times. And that's something that was mentioned.
Look at that profile picture.
Hey, look at that
For
profile.
He's in a tree in the picture.
That's right. Well, he's in the picture. Where is it? Where's the? I got one over here.
It's now there's other things too that are way more advanced. What do you got?
Oh,
look,
it's from
that looks like a
FTF
familiar
magazine.
picture.
Oh, that's great.
You've seen the ones where people, and there's, as a matter of fact, there's one coming up in Memphis that I believe will be available at the time of the event, but really high up in the tree, but people have actual climbing gear for it. That's a whole different level, right? And most people don't know how to do that. But if you have somebody experienced and you have the right equipment, you can climb really high up in trees with not a lot of branches. But you still have to be careful doing that. It's definitely not something you would go out in the woods and do by yourself. It's just not.
No.
I mean, some people will, obviously, right? Because they feel comfortable, but I wouldn't do that because one mistake and you're just kind of hanging there and, who knows what's going to happen next, right?
Right. So let's switch gear. Tommy, if anything more on trees, I want to switch to another area of safety that I want to cover. So
no,
if we can,
might help a little bit to know the trees you're climbing, because some have more dead stuff than others. And
yeah,
I
recommend just chopping the tree down and then safely getting the cache.
That's one way of doing it. Yes. So chronically tired mom mentioned something earlier, and it made me think of you, Emily. So I'll have to ask you about your experience. We were at Going Caching, and you did a couple of these culverts. So something that chronically tired mom, she just did one recently. She says one thing is make sure all ice is melted or wear cleats while culvert caching. I'm sore for days, banging my back on the culvert. So that could be a problem.
Yes, exactly. In Rome, Georgia, there's 2, and one you could stand up pretty tall, but the other one not so much. And I was banging my back a lot. It might have just been easier to crawl through, but I didn't because it didn't feel very great either. And I was in pain. The next day, my mom dropped something. She said, "Can you pick that up for me?" And I'm like, "No, I physically cannot pick that up for you. I hurt."
Not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Culverts, knee pads. Yeah. That's
there's one in the notes where some people went in looking for a cache in a culvert, and apparently it was way back in there, but they didn't pay attention to the weather.
Yeah.
And it rained, and they lost their lives looking for a cache.
I feel like that's, I don't know. You hear that from childhood, don't play in rain. Storm drains.
Yep.
So they do have this air of like, ooh, look what we're doing. Look at us being risky and stuff, and on a great dry day, they're not that bad, but pay attention to your surroundings. And I would say I was thinking about that experience going through those 2 culverts. And after you're done, you're like, hey, look what we did. That was great. That was great. And I think sometimes those experiences give you a false sense of what you can do. And maybe the sense of, I'll go get the next one. I don't have anyone to go with me. That's okay. It was really easy last time, but it just might not be okay. I think you really need to assess sans past experience if this is a good idea or not.
I'm not laughing. I'm not
Yeah.
laughing at Chronically Tired Mom.
Yes,
I'm
you are.
laughing with her. I'm laughing with her. I'm not
I don't see
laughing
her
at her.
laughing. Yeah, she got injured. I don't see her laughing.
Yeah, she probably wasn't very happy. Yeah, I know she hurt. I'm sorry. I
Aw.
don't mean
Culverts can be okay, but you really have to know what you're getting into. When the last time, or one time recently when I was down in Memphis, me and Derek were finding some caches,
yeah.
and one of them was like a multi, and it started going into a culvert, and
Right.
we were just in regular clothes. We planned on grabbing a few on a trail, and we're like, oh, there's this multi nearby. We go in there, it is completely dark. We have no flashlights. It's wet. We didn't know how far back it was going to be, but it was pitch black, and a little phone light is not sufficient.
No.
And we both, despite what we really wanted to do, we both decided not to go for it that time. We'd already solved a couple stages of it. We're like, it could be like a quarter mile in, who knows? And you don't know what the conditions are like in a culvert. And if you're not, we didn't have knee pads or anything like that. And you know,
Yeah. And a lot of them, like the ones in Rome, there was a fair amount of water pooled in it.
Right.
What is in that water? And there was,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
with the amount of light we had, there was this one point where you could tell it was something. I thought it was foam. It was actually a broken piece of concrete.
Oh.
Running into foam versus running into concrete is very different.
Yikes.
So you don't know what you're going to encounter. It might not just be a straight shot.
Yeah.
Jinx mentions spiders, skunks, rats, stinky water.
We're getting close to where I'm going. We're getting close to where I'm going. So I did one on a nice sunshiny day. It was a big enough thing. I could stand up in this thing, no problem. It was probably 8-10 foot diameter thing.
Right.
Probably didn't even go in 150 feet, if that. I don't remember that. But it's where it was that was the problem.
Right.
It was in Florida.
Oh,
where it rains every day.
Gators.
Oh, gators.
Gators.
Oh, crap.
I don't know that I can crawl backwards fast enough to get away from a gator.
Probably not.
I don't know. And all I had was a little AA light with me, and it wasn't the smartest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
The Dan from Facebook mentioned the air quality.
Yeah, that was a
have
great
some bad
comment.
issues. You can get deep in there, and the oxygen levels can be low, or other gas. I mean, who knows what gases can be down there, right?
Yeah, other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Oh, that's whoo. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. I mean, I will admit I have done and will continue to do culvert caches, but each time you really have to kind of know what you're getting into.
Yeah, well, I even remember one of my fondest memories. It was like you had to go over, climb up on like these rebar stairs, and then go over again.
Oh, right.
And so on the way out, I had to get from this one to the vertical shaft, and I basically had to jump over to the stairs, and I face planted. I mean, it sounds horrible. It was not as bad as it sounds, but I face planted into this vertical shaft, of concrete.
Yeah.
So, and I was with a group. There was no problems, all that stuff, but that would have been horrible to do on my own. It took me a lot of guts to make that jump, and it still went less than perfect.
Right.
To do that alone, oh my gosh. No.
So because we control what comments come on, I'm going to bring Jinxer's comment in and assume she was talking about Tom's gator story.
Yeah, I love that.
Another time when bringing a small kid with you to go first can be helpful. She probably wasn't talking about your gator story, but that's the way I'm going to make it play. So
right.
That's great.
Or the low oxygen.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to go somewhere with that. If you smell rotten eggs, don't start joking.
No.
Who farted? Just get out, because
that's gas.
That's well, it could be hydrogen sulfide, and hydrogen sulfide. It doesn't take a whole lot more than you smell it to you're dead. So it's not something to mess around with.
That's the Oak Island. The people died on Oak Island because there's a particular type of gas that was when they dug down and were down in the pit digging, and they hit a portion of a natural gas type thing, and they died. They couldn't get out fast enough, and that was it. So
it's dangerous. Yeah, we're joking around a little bit, but it actually is. It actually can be quite dangerous. And, if you're not doing your research, if you're not bringing people with you, if you're not, and again, do as much risk as you feel comfortable with, right?
Just
Yeah.
because someone hit it doesn't mean you have to find it.
Absolutely
Oh,
not.
Profound.
I have that in your note. Give yourself permission to say no.
Yeah.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
need to, ignore that cache so it's not bugging you on your map. Whatever you need to do.
And let's be honest. Who wants to say what percentage of those caches, the Culvert caches, probably don't have permission?
Right. Probably most of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come on, let's be honest. What
Yeah.
city is signing off on people finding geocaches in the tunnels? They're not.
In a culvert, yeah.
There may be one out there, but I cannot imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. 10,000 geocaches mentions also about discarded stuff that you got to be
Yes.
careful of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
we'll
that's
get to some more of that later in
In
the
that
urban
gross
caching
water
section.
that you can't see what's in there. Yep.
yeah, good point.
Yeah,
All right,
you know what? As a matter of fact, just stay out of wet ones. Don't go in the wet
Yeah.
ones. No, wait. If we're making an official recommendation, don't go in any of them.
Don't go in any of them.
Just go find an LPC. It's way safer, and you get the same amount of smileys for it.
Yeah.
But don't
All right.
don't get electrocuted doing it.
So that's
Oh.
Linda asked, how do they get published? I would almost guess that a reviewer is not going to sign off on one of those if they know it's actually in a culvert now, in a tunnel underground now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they are somewhere, but I have not seen a lot of those new ones. I've seen older ones.
Yeah.
I'm guessing what people do is just publish them and don't say it's under, or they don't say it's under there until afterwards or something.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a good point.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of switch, and I guess let's talk about our list here. That we have a couple different lists. We're going to talk about things to do in preparation.
Yep.
For an outing. We're going to talk about things to do while you're out on your geocache trip, and also about urban caching. We'll get to those two as well. So I guess let's talk about things we should all do prior to going geocaching. If we're pretty much anytime you go geocaching, unless you're just doing LPCs, obviously, but you never know. Maybe
who knows?
Maybe then. So what are some things we should do in preparation that you guys think are key?
So I guess it really depends on what kind of caching you're doing. But one thing I would say, it's already been mentioned, so I'll bring it up. And I use this as well. There's many different versions of them, but the locator beacons. So I'm thinking mainly for climbing and hiking, and when you're doing those, it's always good to have one of those emergency SOS beacons. You probably don't need it in town as much, but if you're going out in the outback in the in the mountains or wilderness areas, it's really good to have one of those. The Spot is one of them, or I forget the names of all of them, but the Spot is the one I have. But it's you can hit it from anywhere and it'll send an emergency pre-planned message to the police.
They work.
Yeah.
I had a friend who used one.
Yeah, we've used them before too. Not for an emergency rescue, but you can also have them pre-planned. I just got handed a message from my research team.
Yes.
It said the new Apple Watch has a feature that'll do that too. I don't know anything about it.
Oh yeah, I've
Okay.
seen the commercial.
Yeah, so it tracks
to
if you
know.
fall or whatever. It can send an emergency message. But
Owen
InReach,
mentions
InReach. Actually, I think
InReach or
InReach is what I
Spot.
have, isn't it?
Thanks, Owen.
I don't know, but I can tell you those come in handy. We don't have time for me to tell that story here today, but we've had to use them before, and it's very valuable.
I saw in the chat, the Pizza Ninja uses one.
Oh, okay, cool. It's a good idea.
Or
Very
carries
cool.
one.
Carries one. Yeah.
Of course, the next best thing, if you don't have one of those, just make sure somebody knows in general where you're going to be and how long you're going to be gone.
Absolutely. I'm always telling my husband, even down to which route I'm going to take, because sometimes, you have options.
Mm-hmm.
So whether I'm caching or just coming home from an abnormal trip, tell someone where you're going, what to expect. And then I'm even, if I get sidetracked on the way home, I'm sending that message along too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get sidetracked on the way home with geocaching.
Yeah. Darren mentions he uses one every time he caches alone. That's good, Darren.
Yeah,
that's good. Glad you're with us tonight too, my friend.
Well, a lot of those, I mean, if you're not out in the wilderness, a lot of people have, on their phones, they have sharing apps where they can share their location and keep up with people. That only works if you have cell service, but
true.
Anything you can do to make sure somebody knows, like, hey, he was supposed to be back 4 hours ago and he didn't. probably a good plan.
Yeah, Pizza Ninja mentioned, he says, I'm happy with my inReach. I always send a message when I'm getting on the trail. I send updates along the way and then send a message when I'm off the trail. So that I
That's
know I did
great.
all that. That's really cool.
Oh yeah, they're pretty neat. It saves that embarrassing call to the law enforcement rescue that can happen. I'm just
Yes,
saying for a friend. It never happened to me, of course, but
of course
I
not.
know a friend that happened to in the
Huh.
mountains, maybe in a cold area. But it can definitely save you a bunch of time and issues.
Just finding a way says I use Live 360, so my wife knows where I am. So that's interesting. That's another. I guess is that a portable unit? Just finding your way. Is that what that is? I assume something like that.
Well, now they have those Apple tags too. So even if your phone went dead, that passive GPS on the Apple tags,
Right.
anybody could find you. Then if they're anywhere close, if they can get in the area, they can find exactly where you are.
Yeah. Darren saying it sends a breadcrumb to a shareable map every 5 minutes, so that's good to know.
Oh, so many good
Yeah.
ideas.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, this is always a good idea. Something you were talking about, Jesse, kind of up in the Colorado area, or anywhere where
Absolutely.
you've got, is you can pop into a ranger's office or a park and rec office before a big hike in large game lands or parks, which also we need to remind people this isn't necessarily the period of time. It's usually in the fall, but look at attributes. You got to check because cache hunters will put on there if it's a hunting area.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why they clicked on it. I mean, it's 99 times out of 100 they meant to click on that attribute because it might be an active hunting area, which means you need to wear your orange. You need to be.
I've even felt so
visible.
stupid on days where I had my orange on, I thought I was being safe. And then I was alone. I'm hearing the guns. I'm like, why am I doing this? Why?
Still not.
Why didn't I wait for Sunday when they're not
Just
hunting?
waited.
Like,
Right.
come on.
or whatever day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or off time. Yeah.
Or
So
off season. Yeah.
Yeah. Off season.
Yeah, it's not really worth getting shot for a geocache.
No, it is not.
No, you're right.
But yeah, even one time my family had an experience. It wasn't an official park where we could have checked in with anyone, but my dad was having a unique hip issue at the time. And so by the end of our walk out, he was suffering. We were sitting down frequently so he could get feeling okay enough to make another small stretch. And by the time we got out there was a cop. And he had looked in my car, saw changes of shoes, and had run my plates and knew who I was as I was emerging because that signaled to him that there was someone out there having a problem. We were kind of having a problem. It wasn't, we weren't in danger, but we weren't making it out before dark.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's good point. Okay. So some items that we've we won't really cover tonight, but I mean they're because we have other things to get to, but the things that we have in the notes that are pretty standard: first aid kit. You should always carry a first aid kit with you. Make sure
know how to use it.
And
make a first aid kit at Walgreens and not know what you're doing with it.
Right.
And those things expire. Maybe not your bandages. Oh, I mean, in time your bandages will expire. They get weird and goopy. But make sure that what's in there is relevant and current.
And have somebody, like when we go out in as a group, and like Matt mentioned, water. You can't overestimate. Water is probably the most important thing you can have with you if you're going to be out away from places. But if you have a group, if you're going out with a group outside of the city, right? You're going out in the wilderness somewhere. Designate roles for people so people know if something happens, you don't have to then decide who's going to do things. Somebody's got the first aid kit. If depending on where you are, if you're in animal country and sometimes you go armed when you're in those, know who's going to do what roles. If somebody falls, who's going to do what. You'll never use that probably, but if you ever do, you're already 10 steps ahead. You don't have that initial panic. You know who's immediately going to do stuff, who's going to carry people out or whatever. It's good to have those if you go with a regular team. But because it makes you feel a lot better knowing that you know what you're going to do in an emergency.
Exactly. Yeah, some good items. Wait, not that one. One before that. Got a lot of comments. Backpacks have emergency whistles built into the chest buckles.
Yes, and what I like about this
Very well.
comment is where it's built into. You know, if you buy a whistle to add to your backpack, don't have it where you can't reach. In case of emergency, you know, you might not be able to take off that backpack, get to that whistle. And that even makes me think,
That's a good point.
life jackets while you're in the boat. If something were to happen to you, your head gets bonked, you know, you're solo in your kayak, whether you're with somebody or not, your head gets bonked. Who knows if you're going unconscious or not? Your life jacket in the boat, that's legal, but it's not helping you at all.
Yeah, that's not
in
helping
that moment.
anybody. Exactly.
Now, the next one too,
Well,
Robert mentioned.
I was going to say, stick with the water for a minute.
Okay,
One
go ahead.
is two things with the
Carry a
water.
whistle.
One,
Mhm.
not only carry it with you, but you got to remember to drink it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Doesn't do any good to carry it.
True.
The other
That's
thing is have a predetermined amount where if you're going in and your water level's down to a point that that's it. We're done. We're heading back because you don't have enough water to make the whole trip.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard
That's
that a
smart.
lot where people ran out. They thought they had enough and they ran out.
Yeah, that's the first way to be in danger. That's the number one thing that's going to happen to you. Dehydration, then you make bad decisions from that point on.
Right,
But,
exactly.
I like what Robert put in here. He says, I hang a placard on my windshield that has a geocaching logo. It says I'm going geocaching. I keep a dry erase pen and write the GC number on it before I leave the vehicle. That's great.
That's awesome.
If he goes missing, there's coordinates you can look up, and most
Right.
police departments now are familiar enough with geocaching or have accounts. They could find out exactly where you're going for.
That's a simple search, right?
So
Online if
that's
you don't
super-
know much
yeah.
else. Yeah.
That's super smart. And somebody else mentioned, we don't have to pull every single one of them up, but yeah, first
Okay.
aid, water, toilet paper.
Yep.
That is extremely important if you need it. It's not important until you need it, but once you need it,
Once you
very
need it,
important.
then you're like, I'm so glad I brought it. Yes.
We'll save the nasty details, but hiking down the mountain without socks is not fun. I'm just going to throw that out there, and we'll just leave the story there. But
You've got a lot of stories that you're just skipping.
Well, hey, I
You're
like the
skipping
mountain.
the
Yeah.
Learn to identify poison ivy because it doesn't make good toilet paper.
It does not.
No,
It's just good to know what it is. So
since you've mentioned that, poison ivy, poison oak,
Yep.
stinging nettles.
Ugh.
You don't want to
Hog-
introduce
what is that
yourself
thing?
to those in the
Hogs
field.
something. Ugh.
Yeah,
Oh,
chiggers,
oh,
little
yeah.
red bugs. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's in the South for the most part, I think.
Yeah, it's regional. I
Sugar-
don't know if
And you know,
Chiggers-
I've even been a victim of poison oak in the winter because the branches have it, and there's no leaves to identify it. It's my nemesis. Oh yes, hogweed.
Yeah.
That stuff is nasty.
Yes.
I'm sensitive enough to poison ivy. I don't even have to touch it. It can just be in the air from somebody else going through it, stirring on it, and
You're that.
yeah.
It's the only reason for my urgent care visits. All my urgent care visits have been for poison oak. Yeah.
Yeah. It's bad.
It's bad.
yeah. Oh, ticks, of course. Those are fun.
Yeah. Waysiders said tiggers and chicks. I think they mean chiggers and ticks. But if you're searching for a Walt Disney character and chickens, I guess you could have tiggers and
baby
chicks,
chickens, right?
Baby chickens, though. Yeah. So other items that we're going to switch gears, but I want to mention, we mentioned food and water, whistle, extra batteries for your flashlights, first aid kits,
GPS.
Yeah, you can bring.
Can you use those for caching?
I don't think you can anymore.
I heard people do that, but I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I rarely touch my handheld GPS anymore, but it's always in the bag.
That's good. It's good thinking. I have, speaking of batteries though, for your phone, I do have a Mophie, which has a battery in the back of it, but it's really good to be, you can carry extra battery for your phone. I assume everybody has one of these, but this is important too. You don't want to, I carry a little, we all probably have one of those. This is mine.
They're so cheap now. Those extra batteries, the backup batteries and rechargeable.
Yeah.
They're so cheap to
Yeah.
throw in your bag, and they stay charged for a long time. And
You
you
don't
should
want to
check
be
it
out
all before you
there.
go on a trip, of course. But
Yeah. You don't want to be out there. I mean, you may not have self-service, I understand, but you might. And if you're in a spot where could still be a problem what if you have self-service and you don't have a battery life? I mean, that's really not that's sort of shame on you, because you should have thought of making sure to have.
But you can also drop your phone and break it, right?
You can. It can happen. But
and again,
you
if
don't
you're
want to run
going to an
out.
area and there's a chance of no cell service, which is everywhere basically, but if you're planning a cache outing, download the maps offline. Why would you not
absolutely
do that? I mean, that makes every caching app. Well, I think every caching app does it, but we know Cachly does it. But
Cachly does, yeah.
I download them all the time, even when I'm in some urban areas that are new to me, just because one, it saves battery, and two, you know, who knows how bad cell service is going to be.
Bloody Cool mentions about gloves. That's always very important. We're going to get into some of the items now when you're out caching. So let's switch gears. Let's talk about you're prepped. You got all that in there. But what are some things that you want to do for safety when you're out on the trail?
Check in once in a while.
Okay, that's a good one.
I would say if you're in a group again, if you're solo caching, it's different. But if you're in a group, you really need to pay attention to your whole group before an issue comes up, right? Make sure everybody in your group's drinking the water like they're supposed to. Make sure, because your group, let's say for a hike, right? That's kind of the group caching I think about. There's no way that every single person there is going to hike at the same speed, have the same endurance, have the same ability. So you got to make sure you're only going as fast as your slowest person. And you got to be really careful with that, because one twisted ankle, and it's hard to carry somebody down a mountain. I promise you. It's not fun. So you don't need to go any faster than the slowest person is comfortable with.
Right.
Yeah. And, you saying it's hard to carry a person. I've heard stories where the professional search and rescue has difficulty getting someone out, so
it's easier just
for
to
what
push them
that's
over
worth.
the edge and leave.
Jesse, you're former law enforcement. You can't say that.
Just take a whole bunch of bubble.
Once a law enforcement officer, always a law enforcement officer.
Just take a backpack or two full of bubble wrap, and then that way you got
bubble wrap.
Just ride them down the hill.
Ride them down the hill.
Great comment. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Oh
that was the one.
Mark
Where you parked your car. Yeah, that's always important.
Isn't that embarrassing? You go hike all day, find a 5.5, and then you can't find your own car to go home.
Right.
That's just come on. That's just ridiculous.
Hey, we've all been there.
Yeah.
Cash and Nick, we
don't want to admit that, but it is true.
Yeah. Happy Hodag mentions about protective eyewear. That's a good one. Poked my eye and ended up visiting a hospital because of it. Yikes. Yeah, that's important. Bring a friend who runs slower than you. Yeah, that's
bear protection.
Technically, that would be considered bear protection in a sense, I guess.
Oh, this is a good one. Mark where you turned off the beaten path.
Yes.
That is good. That is very good.
People get turned around all the time. Here in Oregon, there's always a story about lost mushroom hunters.
Really?
Always.
Always.
Yeah, always.
Huh.
Is that before or after they ate them?
Yeah.
Really.
What kind of mushrooms are they hunting? Because that's a different problem. So those marks the trail, like I think 10,000 Geocaches mentioned again. If you have the ability to track your path, GPSs do it. There's a lot of apps that do it or whatever, but it does run from battery down if you're not conserving right. But it's very, very helpful to have that, especially if you're bushwhacking. Not that any geocachers would ever do that, of course, right? We always stay on the trail, but just in case you're one of those people that gets off the trail, it can be very important. You can get turned around very easy. It doesn't matter how good you think you are. Anybody can get turned around.
Yes. Yeah, it can get bad. It can get bad quick if you haven't got the precautions in place, for sure.
And you never know, right? I mean, you may do your research ahead of time. You're going to do your trail or whatever, and then the trail gets washed out. There's logs down across it. The bridge is gone, so you got to find a new way to get around. that can add an extra 3 miles to your, we were down in Florida a few years back, and we're going for the oldest cache down there, which is a famous cache. It's in a state park, but we go up to this one trail and there's like a 12-foot dinosaur alligator laying across it. We can't go there.
Right.
Now we had to backtrack and add an extra couple miles on our trip that we didn't plan on.
Right.
It was all fine. We're in a state park, but that could quickly, if that's, you know, if you plan only to the limit, you can get yourself in a jam really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Jinxer mentions this is a good point about wearing a bell or something to make noise. So it alerts wildlife so you don't accidentally corner a bear or a mountain lion or anything of that nature. So,
Or if we trained them, that's the dinner bell.
dinner bell. Wow. Let's hope not. But yeah,
that's a good point though. Making noise like that. A lot of people when they're going, they'll make sure they're loud enough that they're not going to walk upon wildlife accidentally.
Yeah,
that's smart. So Crown Katamaran brings up a really scary thing too, and that is knowing, especially if you're out by yourself or that kind of situation, come across someone circling me on foot after getting in my vehicle, some sort of self-defense. So always be aware of your surroundings. That's something
absolutely
that
aware of your surroundings. I have purchased like a kind of like a 3-finger thing that will hold
like
mace in
spray?
it. Okay, and so I can have that right there. You know, mace has this little twisty on and off, so that's right at your thumb,
quick,
ready to go.
That's good. That's smart.
You know, we don't want to get like totally off track and in a whole different show, but mace or some people go armed or whatever else. You do need to think about self-defense, whether you're by yourself or with a group, either from animals or people, right? And in the wilderness or even in an urban setting, that's, you know, crime happens. And just because we're out playing a game doesn't mean the other people out there are, you know, just as kind-hearted as we are. So you do have to kind of be aware of that, because we know we get tunnel vision, right? Whether we're in the mountains or
we do,
we're in an alley going to get a cache that's also not smart, right? But you know, we get tunnel vision because we're like, one more, you know, I'm going to get this cache, and you're not paying attention to your surroundings, and you can real quickly get yourself in a jam you don't want to be in.
Right. Yeah, 10,000 Cache mentions about he had a woman come up to ask him if he could just pretend to like he knew her for a while. So some dude following her past. So that's smart.
Yeah.
That person obviously was aware of their surroundings. So, be aware. We went and did a cache one time. It's not on anybody's property. It's on public land. It's actually part of a river, part of the river floodplain. So I actually checked. It wasn't my cache, but I did check. I checked with the state, and they said, yeah, that's considered part of that. And they said there's no issue with this, with where the cache was placed. But saying that, somebody had they were either doing some kind of illegal drugs or doing something in that area, and they came out and met us. You know, we were walking out. We had a group, which was very important. We had a big group. We were armed, so we had just in case. But we could see them coming, which is also important. We kind of knew what was going on a little bit ahead of time, and so we did our little friendly wave, and we talked to him, and he was wondering what we were doing, and we explained what we were doing. And that kind of brought his level down a little bit. But we were obviously trespassing on his, meth plant or whatever he was doing out there. It was illegal.
What he believed to be his property, basically.
Yeah, because obviously it was an area that people aren't going to traipse around in.
Right.
And so, but we were aware of it. Our group was aware of this guy. We diffused the situation. We talked to him and, sort of smiled and waved and explained our situation. We moved on. But after we got back, we all talked about the fact that, did you notice that he was armed? It's like, yeah, I mean, he was concealing it, but not really that great. So we saw that he was armed.
Mhm.
I don't know if he knew that we were armed as well, but this is Texas, so
Yeah, and which brings up another good point, right? Just because, first of all, don't assume that anybody's gotten permission for the cache,
right.
because that's
That's
never a
Right.
good
exactly
assumption.
right.
And even if they have,
Good point. Yeah.
it's not worth getting into an argument and a shootout
Right.
over a cache,
No.
whether you're in the city or not in the city, right? It's not worth it. Just back out and move on. It's
Absolutely.
absolutely not worth it. But because it's
Yeah. I would say he's crossing pot fields
yeah.
while caching. So
that smiley is not worth a court case or
No.
risking your life or anything. So
Yeah.
No, diffuse the situation if possible, kind of like we did, laugh it off. Don't have to get into a big, argument about whether the cache should or should not be there, which we didn't.
yeah.
He claimed it shouldn't be there, and we understand. And we're going to go on now. you can argue that point, but we're not going to argue with you. We're just
No
going to go,
point in
yeah,
that. Yeah.
nope, we're moving on.
Yep.
All right. Let's switch again as our time. Let's talk a little bit about urban caching, because I think so often when we think about cache safety, we think of it in these areas. We think of it as, trails and poison ivy and so forth, so on.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesse had a good list here of when you're urban caching, there are things to be aware of. I mean, obviously, you need to be aware of. Obviously, we talked about be aware of your surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
There's more people, therefore, there's a possibility of some nefarious people being near you, so you need to be aware of them. But what are some other things, Jesse, you wanted to bring up tonight about urban
So
caching?
we kind of talked about permissions and trespassing and things like that, which in the city can get you in just as much trouble, right?
Right.
I pulled up to a cache one night, FTF. We raced out the door, and it was probably 9:30 at night. Nothing. It was dark, but it wasn't like late at night. And we pulled up, and as we got closer and closer, I wasn't really familiar with the area, and we kind of went through a shopping center, and it was behind a bank. Like somebody had put it like right behind a bank at night, and I'm like, no. First of all, we just drove on by. Like, I want to be the guy that gets stopped, behind the bank. And no, I'm sorry, we're not doing that. And it was just not a great place for it. But the other thing we've come across many times, and this is why, not to get on off on a tangent, but this is why it's important to pay attention to caches. And if people have left the game, caches need to be archived and things like that, because we've come across a couple times. It's just a growing trend, but there's more and more homeless people in the country, right? And you'll come upon like homeless camps that'll have like needles and dangerous drugs and all kinds of stuff and people.
Right. You don't want
there.
in
They get very
there.
protected, right?
Yeah.
And, I've come upon that 2 or 3 times, probably more than that, but where it's either the person's camp there and there's a cache there, they've set up camp, and that's not worth it. It's just not worth that confrontation.
No, it's not worth going through someone's temporary home space to get to the other side or beside it or anything like that.
I mean,
I've said no to caches.
Fight some random crazy dude for a geocache, right? That's not worth it. Who knows what they think and who knows what I think? We don't need that. But I think the even more dangerous is I've found them before. And this is one of those where you immediately archive, like we've talked about before, but
yes,
it's in the little bushes, it's by trees, and it's where people go and like shoot up drugs, and they leave like hypodermic needles and all that paraphernalia stuff there. And kids go for caches, right? By themselves sometimes. So that's one of those situations. You really have to watch what you're doing. And if you're caching with kids, you need to really spy it first, right? Check the area first. And don't just reach in. I know we all do it a lot, but just because you're in the city doesn't mean it's safe to reach in because there's no snake there. You need to, you really need to watch what you're doing. I've come across that a couple times, and that's one of those situations. If you're in that and you see that, back out, but don't just leave it there and move on. You need to call somebody.
Right.
That's when it's worth calling the local police or, whoever you can call in that area. And, if it's in your own area, like I'll reach out to, most of us know our local reviewers, right? I'll reach out to them immediately and go, this has to be archived immediately. Right. You can't let any other kids get near this. And, that's just what we need to do to look out for our fellow cachers, right? Don't touch it. Never touch those things. Right. But, you can't also leave it there for somebody else to find. It's very unsafe. And, who knows what could happen, drugs, disease, anything else, but you really have to watch that when you're, even in like a city park, it's out there and it's dangerous. So
Yeah. Well, even I've seen on side roads that have become roads for campers to live along. Not whether, I mean, people who are camping permanently,
Right. Right.
and different bush areas will become their toilets. It's now the community toilet.
Oh,
I
gosh.
left my search because that's not how it was when the cache was hidden, but that's certainly what it
Right.
had become.
It become.
yeah.
Mhm.
One thing that we run across down here, and Tom and I, we, sadly, I've seen several cemetery caches where, they had become the backside of it had become sort of a homeless area, because they felt like that it was sort of, I guess, maybe felt like that was a safe haven for them, other than obviously urban, but they can be sort of urban locations as well.
Mhm.
I don't know if you found anything unusual, Tom, and when you do cemetery caches that are, I mean, be surprised the things that, even though it's urban, those kind of areas can become suspect as
I
well.
haven't come across that, but I'm thinking back. I've been to some cemeteries where that would probably be pretty likely nowadays. Ones where
Right.
nobody's going to, and
Yeah.
so they think, hey, I can set up camp here. Nobody's coming here.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not worth that's not worth a smiley, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter if they're not supposed to be there and the geocache had permission. That doesn't matter.
No.
It's not
Right.
worth getting into a confrontation and some dude jumps out of the bushes and gets all stabby on you, and then you're going to the hospital, and you don't need that. I mean, that's
Right.
that's not worth a little smiley. Just move on and go find another one.
And we
Right.
don't want to bash all homeless people because some of them may be the nicest people in the world, but you don't need to go find out.
It's not worth getting into a fight to find out if you found a nice one or a mean one,
Right.
right?
And when you're in urban caching, something else that I appreciate you putting in there, Jesse, is the fact that not everybody gets permission. And so therefore you're going to run into a situation where, and I think we've all hopefully been around a while. If you haven't, I think it's important, if you aren't maybe a seasoned cacher, to know that when you go to an urban type situation to look for a cache, you really hypersensitive to the surroundings, because you have to kind of assume, at least I do, I assume that they didn't get permission, and therefore this may be on property that is not, that I'm not supposed to be on. If it's in a parking lot that everybody basically can park in, okay, you kind of take that level, you make note of that level. If you're running around the side of a building, you kind of start to,
Just
the
assume
level.
that nobody got permission. Assume
Yeah.
that and work backwards from there, right? I mean,
Right.
there's no reason to just. It's not worth it. We all love this game, but it's not worth getting in a confrontation over. It's not.
Right.
It doesn't even matter if you're in the right. It really doesn't matter. It's a game.
No, there could be property owners or store owners, business owners who have experienced all kinds of crap from who knows what in their past. And
Yeah.
you might just be that cherry on top of their bad experiences. It is not worth it. If they say, get out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they might even ask you to get rid of it. Oh, I don't know. I don't know about like physically removing it or anything at that point, but
Absolutely would. I
it,
absolutely
Yeah.
would at that
would you
point. I've done it.
Yeah.
I would do it
don't
every
poke the
time.
bear anymore, I guess is my message.
Right.
You don't
Just
want anybody
don't.
else to run into that, right? Because even though you're level-headed when you do it, and I've had to remove them before because they're like, I'm calling the law. I'm like, whoa, hold on. It's
Hang
like,
on now.
this is a scavenger hunt game, and they messed up. These people should have gotten permission. I will take it out and make sure that nobody else shows up. And then I immediately contact somebody after that. I'm like, I took this cache. It's not there. The owner does not want it there. And I always reach out to the owner, which they've never ever wanted it back because they're embarrassed. But it's like you said, you don't want somebody else. Now you have a business owner that's having a bad day, and the next cashier's having a bad day. And those two
Yes,
meet
we
up
don't want
next,
that.
and then now you have a newspaper story, and that's not good. So
Yeah, that was something I was going to bring up. Schoolers,
Yeah, this is good.
He thought exactly like I did,
Yes.
and that's just because permission was given doesn't mean the property hasn't changed hands. I've had that happen. We had a situation like that where this cache, and again, so that if the cache has been found 100 times, doesn't necessarily mean you still got to be on your watchful moments. And sure enough, I went there we were with a group, so we had a lot of safety things in mind, but we got there and yeah, we got an earful, and it was like while my friend was doing the negotiating, I grabbed the cash and I was like, "We're taking it with us." Showed it to him like it's going, and we did it. I read the notes ahead of time, so I at least kind of was up on it. I didn't know that they were no longer the owner was no longer there. It said that they had owner permission, so that was our first assumption. But then again, once the person was like, I've had this business now for a month and blah blah blah, and it's like, no problem, we got it taken care of for you. We're taking it with us. It won't happen and obviously let the cash owner know that your person that you got permission from isn't there anymore, and therefore, sorry, I will give you back your container. I actually knew the person, so it was easy to get it back to them.
But you did it the right way, though, and I think that brings up a good point that we should mention too. Is if you do get confronted or somebody asks what you're doing, don't lie.
Yeah.
Whether it's law enforcement, whether it's business owner, or just a random person, trying to be suspicious makes you suspicious, right? Like,
Yeah,
don't
that's
do
a
that.
very good point. Back in November, I had a very unique experience. I was kind of on the outskirts of a town and I was on a side dirt road. So, I mean, I'm not on this person's property as far as I can tell. I'm on outside of their fence. I'm on a road. There's a telephone pole where I would expected the cache to be. And all of a sudden I hear someone yelling out and it's dark, asking me what am I doing? And I don't even know where to look and where to answer back to. And part of me is like, I'm not going to say anything. That's stupid. They've already seen me. They're looking at me, even though I don't know where they are. And so I yell back out that I'm kind of, I forget, I don't know, kind of a scavenger hunt type response. And they yelled, better not come on my property. And I yelled back out, I don't intend to. And they didn't say anything else, but my search was done at that point.
You were out. Yes.
And note on the cache page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I usually just go to scavenger hunt because everybody understands that without an explanation, right? You know what a scavenger hunt is. Right. And if they ask more questions, then I'll say, well, I'm geocaching.
Right.
And then if they want more answers, but generally my first response is I'm doing a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
If they say
think about how alarming that sounds to someone who has property, I'm doing a scavenger hunt and your scavenger hunt brought them to their place, They don't want people at their place like that. If you're coming, how many more people are coming,
But if you respond geocaching and they don't know what that is,
no, that means
some misinterpretation immediately, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
a
true.
very good point. Yeah.
And I've seen
Direwolf has some ideas. Say you're a tree surgeon or a guardrail inspector. Those work too.
Yeah, starting off with a lie is never a good plan.
Bird watching, bug hunting.
I think all of those would have gone badly at my position in the dark.
Yeah, that's generally what I say is scavenger hunt. And then if they want more information, I'll give it to them.
Yeah.
Almost always they go, oh, and just leave or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Not on somebody's property, but I mean, like
one time my brother-in-law told someone who asked him what he was doing that he was geocaching, and they said, I do not believe that you're a geologist. He's like, well, I am not. That's not what I told you.
Right.
No, that's exactly why I start with scavenger hunt, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, let's wrap up. I guess let's go around the room and let's give our final words of wisdom, if we would.
I'll go. The two big things we've hit on a couple times, but I just want to repeat them because I think they're important. Is one, just awareness. you should be aware of where your surroundings, no matter where you are. Don't get so focused. I mean, obviously we have a lot of fun doing this, right? It's a game.
Right.
We talk about it all the time. You know, obviously, I mean, people are here listening to a live show. This is our thing. And we get focused when we're doing that and we're playing a game and having fun, but don't get so tunnel vision that you can't pay attention to what's around you. Just stay safe. And then be as risky as you feel like being, right? Like for some people, that's going to find an LPC in the dark. That's as risky as they want to get. For other people, they're climbing through tunnels and caves and, you know, scuba diving and everything else. That's great for them. But go to your comfort level and pay attention to what you're doing.
Right. Very good. Emily?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Know your risk level. Make sure you know what you're walking into. Going blind is probably not going to be a good idea.
Right.
Exactly. If you're anywhere beyond a parking lot. And as I said earlier, you know, don't let your past experiences blind you and give you false assurance in yourself and your ability. There could be a number of factors that you're just not expecting in any given situation.
Right. I'll go next. I'll let Tom, since you were thank
instigator.
you. Instigator. Well, thank you though, by the way, for bringing this up, because I know that it's kind of close to your heart, being that you've had people that you know fairly recently and over the past recent times who've been injured. But so I'll go and I'll let you go. And that, I guess mine is that thinking about, even if you're going out and you're thinking it's a short hike, it's a safe hike, it's not very far, those are the kind of things where people get in a lot of trouble. I remember as a kid, me and a friend thought, oh, we're not going very far. But sure enough, we get turned around. We're far enough away from home where we forget which way is which. And so, of course, you do the wrong thing, which is you start wandering. And of course, what you're doing is you're wandering further away, thinking that, oh, we'll be able to figure it out once we get a little further. And then you say that after you've gone a little further, you're like, well, let's just keep going. We're going to hit a road eventually, right? And sure enough, we got far enough out that it became a problem. So, we need to think about even minimal situations that we think are well within our sphere of handling. We need to think about them with a little more caution than that.
Right. As soon as you said that, you made me think about carrying a bottle of water. It's in the car, and I think that it's not going to be long at all. And it's just long enough where I wish I had that.
Right.
Yeah.
All it takes is a twisted knee or twisted ankle or something in a location where it's not easy to get out of, and it's not easy, and you drop your phone. I mean, you have to think through. Sometimes you really do. You got to think through the worst case scenario. What happens if, oh, it's a short trip to this cache. I don't need to tell anybody where I'm going, or whatever. You can tell that the situations could escalate quickly. So, Tom.
Plan ahead, share your plan, check in often, and give yourself permission to say no.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, there was time years ago I had to go get them all, but as somebody else pointed in here, none of us are getting paid to play this game. At least I don't know anybody who is. And that cache that's 30 feet up in the tree, is anybody going to remember you signed it 2 years from now? Is that cache even going to be there? So is it worth it to have your name on a piece of paper? No,
Yeah.
I don't think so. Now, if somebody's prepared for that kind of stuff, fine, but
yeah,
I'm not. So I give myself permission to say no.
Right. That's smart.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully this is helpful. We had a new cacher joining in with us, Catherine.
Welcome,
she's
Catherine.
7 days in. So yeah,
that's awesome. Getting you off to a good start.
Hopefully we gave you some good ideas. She thinks, thanks for the information. You are very welcome. Definitely
7 days in, let's give it a newbie thing. Don't get them all by your house in the first month.
right.
Somewhere
Oh,
along
gosh,
the way,
yes,
you're
that's
going to
a-
want to do a streak, and you're gonna, after you've got them all, that makes that hard.
That's
Save
right.
yourself years of aggravation. Get them. Don't.
Go
Save
further
some
out.
close by.
Tune
Yeah,
into
save some-
Challenge Talk, and you'll hear us talk all about that.
Right. Check
We
out
all
Challenge
have
Talk.
made
Check out
that
our old
mistake.
shows. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Darren. And with that, we're gonna wrap up. We'll see everybody Tuesday, Gadget Talk, and then next Sunday, I think will be Challenge Talk, right? Is that right? Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Challenge Talk next week. So looking forward to that.
Emily
Next
didn't have the
Sunday?
deer in the headlight look, so it must be right.
Yep,
Planning
she's
on it.
ready. All right. Well, good. Well, thanks again, everybody. Hopefully, it was good information, guys and gal, and we'll see everybody soon. So,
Good
night,
night.
everybody.
May your finds be many and your DNFs be few. May the terrain and difficulty both be less than 2. And whatever it is you're looking for, may it find its way to you. And may we all meet again.
Folks, we hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. Please email us your comments at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The show can be found on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, or Spotify, as well as at the Geocache Talk website. Don't forget to click that subscribe button below and ring that bell notification so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. And tell your friends about the show. Get them involved with us in the chat room. And until next week, don't just talk about geocaching, go geocaching.